As coders, we tend to have some sort of a requirement which could be like show or hide some HTML. This sort of a thing in React is basically can be called as conditional rendering. In short, we so for instance, you have a user state where a user, whether user is logged in or not, whether his user is logged out, for instance. So you will show a different sort of HTML when the user is logged in compared to the case when the user is logged out. So to do that, React offers four approaches. One is that we use conditional rendering, which includes if and else. There is another approach for the conditional rendering. It's called as element variables. The third approach is ternary conditional operators, and the fourth approach is short circuit operator. Now we'll go through all the four approaches one by one by using the examples. So let's start with our first ones. We'll create over here a user component, class component, in fact, user, let's call it user state.js. And let's just copy the class component for now. And we will call it user state, and we'll just for now we'll replicate in the app.js. We'll go in and user state, and we'll now create one component. Refresh, we should see the user state. So that means this is all good. Now, ideally, what should happen is that we should have this way. It should be written like welcome user. And if the person is, let's suppose, not logged in, then you can say welcome guest. So let's see. Okay, we have an issue over here. Why? Oh, yep, that's missing. So we go in, save it again. All good. So yes, so what we want to do it is we want to show if the user is logged in, then we actually show them the welcome user, and if the user is not logged in, we show them welcome guest. So to do that, we will obviously need to use the states. So we'll create in the constructor first, then call the super, then this dot is logged in is could be our state. We create an state object, and then we'll have okay, sorry, there's a mistake over here, state, and over here we'll have a state, and we'll call it false at the start. So this is all good. Now what we want to do it is obviously conditional rendering, means we want to show this for to the case when the user is logged in, and show this when the user is not logged in. So we'll start with the first method. To do that, we can go for check the state. If this dot state is logged in is true, then return, for example, first part, which is welcome user, because we are logged in. And if that person is logged out, then show welcome guest. So now you will see one of them. Why? Because we are not logged in, it's false. If we make it true, then the other one appears. So this is basically your first approach of if using the if else for returning what we desire. Then the second approach is the element variables. Element variables could be something like what we did in our app, that is declaring a simple message over there like a variable, and then within it you will use the if condition. If state is logged in, then we use the message variable, and over here we will actually assign them this thing. So for now, I'll just comment them out. Okay. Now for the second case, else over here, I'll go for this one and message equals to this and save it. Now as expression, obviously in the return, we will call them as expressions. So return, and within it, we can actually use the message. Now if we see what happens, we may, yep, that is because return requires some sort of div. Okay, so yep, that's fine. So because we actually have is logged in to be true, that is the reason we are saying welcome state false. This is all good. So this works. This was the second approach. Now, third approach is basically called as ternary conditional operator. Let's just comment this out first and then go for a third approach. Now, for the third approach, what we will do it is we will directly write this within the, you can say this is the advantage that we will write it within the return statement, and that we like this dot is logged in, sorry, is state dot is logged in. If it's true, very much like you used to do it on like in any other programming language. We're going to do it over here. If it's true, then return this statement. And if it's false, we'll write it after the colon and we'll place it over here, then return this. So now let's see what happens. If we make it true, this will change. So this is our third approach. Fourth approach is basically closer to um, this one, but is only it can be used. I mean, I would only use it in the case when I don't have an else statement, right? So, for example, over here we had an else statement that I wanted to show you the welcome guest in case if it's false, then but let's suppose I don't want to show that. I just want to leave it as empty div. Then what happens is that I'm going to use return this, and rather than over here, so I mean maybe better is that I am actually going to comment this out and we'll copy it again, and over here I'm going to use ampersand twice and remove this part, and that should be it. Let's see what happens. So if it's true, we have something. If it's false, me return an error. No, all good. Yeah, because it returned null, so nothing happened over there. So that's like a four approaches. I guess in all the three, probably this one and this one is far more better when it comes to clean code and readable. So you should actually use them when, I mean, as per the situation as well. This one is just has too much of repetition, like return over here and here.